foundation is still looking really good. It's still looking a little bit dry around this area and my chin, which is where it was looking dry initially, but it's still completely matte. And because it's oil free, if you don't have super oily skin and you don't kind of contour or conceal a lot, then I guess you could literally just skip powder. So I'm on the whole very impressed with this makeup, and on the whole I would... Hello guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I have for you another foundation review video, and it's a first impressions video, and today I'm trying out the Born This Way foundation by Too Faced. I've got a little sample here that I got from Sephora. I ran out of my YSL Touche Éclat foundation recently. I will link a video up here where I review the Dual Forever foundation as well as some Mikasa beauty brushes. But because I'm hunting for a new foundation, I decided to get another little tester. And this time I got this Too Faced foundation. It's the Born This Way foundation, which I've heard so many people rave about that I thought I would give it a go. It's supposed to be a medium to full coverage foundation, so I'm expecting pretty good coverage. It's also oil free, and because I have a very oily T-zone, I think it might work quite well with my skin. So I thought I would give it a go. I hope it's not too matte, because that was the problem with the Dual Forever foundation. It was just super matte, and it just made my skin look really flat. I didn't really like that finish. So I'm hoping this one's not going to be as matte, because it's supposed to have a more natural finish. So let's see how we get on with it, but without further ado, I want to jump straight into the video and let you know what I think. But before that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I upload twice a week, so if you don't want to miss any of my videos, hit that subscribe button and hit the little bell right next to it so that you get notifications every time I upload. By the way guys, I'm so sorry about that noise in the background. The dishwasher has gone crazy and I can't get it to stop, so I'm really sorry about that noise that's going on in the background. But yeah, basically I've got on a little bit of moisturizer as usual. I'm using my Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream, and then I've got a bit of under eye cream from Estee Lauder, and that's all I have on my face right now. And we're going to go straight in with the foundation. So this one is in the shade High Beige or something like that. I will link it below. I'll check it out online and I will link it in the info box below. Okay, so I've got a little sample like this, and I'm going to dot it on my face like I usually do. Like, you know guys, I like to always blend it out with fingers because I feel that that warms up the product a little bit, so it just has like a nicer finish to it. On a first impressions, I really like the colour match. I think it's literally exactly matching my skin shade, and I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it's making my face and my neck look identical. It blends in really nice. It feels almost like a moisturizer. It literally glides onto my face. Doesn't feel drying. It doesn't feel like it's clinging onto any dry patches on my skin. And it feels like a light moisturizer actually while I'm blending it out. I'd say it's sort of medium coverage, pretty similar to my YSL Touche Éclat foundation. And this one doesn't feel like the Dior one, which I tried earlier. I will link that video on the screen somewhere now. But I tried the Dior Forever foundation, and that felt really drying and really matte. This one looks really kind of satiny, and it looks kind of your skin with a bit of coverage, but it doesn't actually look like it's really dry or matte, but at the same time it doesn't feel kind of greasy or oily. Sorry I'm looking down guys, by the way, but I'm just looking at myself in the mirror to kind of comment as we go along. I'm not going to blend it out using my beauty blender like I would usually. It's blending out really beautifully with the beauty blender. And it has a very similar finish to the YSL Touche Éclat. I would say slightly more coverage perhaps, and a much better colour match to my actual skin tone. It looks slightly more matte than the YSL Touche Éclat, but again, my skin still looks super natural. It doesn't look kind of dry or patchy or like too matte that it looks flat. And the coverage is pretty nice. I'd say it covers a little bit more than the YSL Touche Éclat foundation. It's kind of counteracted my under eye darkness really well. I don't know if that's because it has a slightly more salmony tint than the YSL Tissue Cloud, which is more yellow. And I like that it's counteracted my darkness really well and really evened out my skin tone. My skin looks really flawless actually. I really like it. My skin is really dry around here right now because I had a facial and I had a lot of extractions done around this area, so my skin is sort of peeling off. So on that area, it looks slightly dry and it's clung onto the skin a little bit, so it's showing a bit of my dry skin. But to be fair, that's not really a fair test because my skin there is literally peeling off right now. So it has a really nice kind of matte but still natural finish. My skin doesn't look flat, but it doesn't look dewy. So if you want a very dewy foundation, then probably this one isn't for you. The coverage is also quite buildable. I've applied a little bit more around this area and it doesn't look kind of more cakey. It looks quite luminous as well, quite kind of brightening. Like, it hasn't made my skin look sallow. I have the Armani Luminous Silk Foundation and I really hate that one because it makes my skin almost look like it's grey. This one has a really nice undertone. It looks very, very natural with my olive complexion. It matches my skin tone super, super well, but it doesn't make me look kind of grey or too yellow. It makes me look kind of nice and bronzed. So overall, first impressions, I'm really liking the finish. I really like how it feels on my skin. It doesn't feel cakey. It doesn't feel kind of overly heavy. I feel like my skin can breathe, but it has quite nice coverage. So I'm going to go and finish my makeup and I will report back. Hey guys, so I just finished doing my makeup. It is currently, let me check, 10 a.m. and I'm going to have a full day of meetings and running around, so I'm going to see how well this makeup fares throughout the day. At the moment I have applied the usual makeup I do and I have powdered because I think that's more of a fair test of how the makeup would do on my skin, because that's how really I would wear it. So I have powdered just slightly, and I've powdered with the Laura Mercier translucent powder where I've applied concealer, so underneath my eyes, on the bridge of my nose, and the usual kind of areas where I highlight. And then I've applied a light dusting of the Voile de Pearl by Terry powder, which is like a illuminating powder more than a setting powder really. So it shouldn't have a huge effect on the foundation. At the moment, I have to say that after powdering, it does look very, very matte because this foundation was a little matte to begin with. So now that I have applied all the powder, it is looking slightly on the cakier side on the areas where I've kind of more heavily powdered. So underneath my eyes, on the bridge of my nose, my chin, and my forehead. But I have to say, even though it looks a little bit cakey, the makeup just looks absolutely flawless. Like, my skin just looks super perfect. And I have to say that the coverage, looking at it in the bathroom where I have more light, it is kind of medium to full coverage, but it still looks very, very natural before I powdered. I had to use very little concealer and hardly any corrector because, like I said, the salmon kind of undertone of the foundation really counteracted my under eye darkness, any pigmentation, so my skin looked super, super even, and I hardly needed to use any concealer because the foundation just covered everything up. I usually use the Clé de Peau concealer to cover kind of any blemishes and to cover the darkness underneath my eyes, and I hardly had to use any. I used literally half the amount that I would use normally. I also use my NARS Creamy Concealer to kind of highlight, and again I had to use very little because my skin was already looking super flawless with just the foundation. So if you want a kind of full coverage foundation, like an event foundation, I think this one is going to be a pretty good one. Like I said, after I applied the concealer and I powdered, it looked a little bit on the cakier side. It looks kind of very, very full coverage right now, but we'll see how it fares throughout the day and we'll see how it sinks into my skin. But on the whole, if you want something luminous and really correcting kind of a concealer foundation all in one, I think this one might be the one for you. I'm quite liking the finish at the moment, so we're going to see how it fares. I'm going to go finish getting ready and I will report back in a little while. Hey guys, so I'm ready now and it is roughly, it's 12:30 now. I've done a bit of work and I got ready. So my foundation has been on for about 2.5 hours properly. And I have to say it's settled in a lot more. It doesn't look as cakey as it looked at the beginning. It hasn't faded. The coverage at the moment is still flawless. I have no shiny bits whatsoever and my skin just looks amazing right now. Like I said, pretty full coverage, but Still very, very nice and very, very flawless. And now that the cakiness has gone down because the powder has sort of settled in and my natural oils have come out, it looks a lot more natural and a lot less cakey than it did before. It's still clinging on a little bit into here and here where I have a little bit of dry skin. You can sort of see it kind of sinking into the pores there, and when my pores are a little bit more open because of my facial, you can see the pores kind of seeping in a little bit and it looks a little dry, but the rest of my face looks super flawless. And one thing that I noticed is that, you know how in a previous video, I will link it here, I was telling you that recently where I applied my cream contour, my skin was sort of going really patchy and it was fading, it was looking really disgusting after maybe like half an hour of applying it. With this foundation, that has not happened yet, so I'm pretty impressed because I've been having that problem for a long time and I actually don't know why it happens, but I've been having it for a while and I have to say with this foundation that has not happened yet, so I'm really, really impressed. So I'm now going to head out and I will report back in a few hours. Hey guys, so I've been out for meetings. It's about 4 o'clock now, 4 p.m. and I have to say my foundation is still looking really good. It's still looking a little bit dry around this area and my chin, which is where it was looking dry initially, but it's still completely matte and it hasn't faded. The coverage is still amazing and it still looks really, really good, I have to say. I'm going to do a close-up here. So you can see here my skin is kind of dipping into the pores and it's a little bit dry. But on the whole, the foundation is looking pretty fresh. I really like how it's holding up. The coverage is really good. It's not fading, but it does look a little bit cakey. So if you want a super natural foundation, I would say this is probably not one for you. But yeah, I will see how I get on for the rest of the day and I'll report back in a few hours. Hey guys, so I am back home now. I've come back from all my meetings and all my stuff that I've been doing the whole day. It is now 7 p.m. and my foundation is holding up pretty well. Even my lipstick has faded by now and it's supposed to be a liquid lipstick which doesn't fade, but it has. So it's been a long, long day and my foundation has held up incredibly well. I will show you a close-up now, but basically it's gone slightly shiny around here and on my chin area, but mostly around my forehead, but it's so slight. It looks like a sheen, to be honest. If you don't like super matte skin, you probably wouldn't even call it shiny. The coverage has not budged whatsoever, even around my nose, which is usually where it budges up, is that even an expression? Basically where it goes away the soonest. And actually it's held up incredibly well. My foundation looks really flawless still. It's really sunk in and settled into my skin and I actually like the finish it has now more than I did when it was at the beginning because the natural oils have kind of come into play and it looks a lot more natural, a lot less cakey. It has creased a little bit around here, around the sides of my nose, but that's because it's a pretty full coverage foundation. So if you don't like very kind of thick foundations, then you probably won't like this one. I really like the flawless finish it gives my skin. It has a lot more coverage than my YSL foundation. It's held up pretty well. I think it's a great foundation for an event or when you're going to be taking photography. So yeah, I really like it. I also am really impressed by the fact that the concealer that I use to cream contour hasn't creased at all. There's no kind of patchy areas. It hasn't creased, so the foundation has really kind of held it in place. And lately it's always been getting patchy after a while, so I'm very impressed by how this foundation has done. Like I said, it is pretty full coverage. It can look a little bit cakey. Now that it's sunk in, it looks better. But at the beginning it did look pretty cakey and it has kind of creased around here a little bit. So if you don't like very full coverage foundations, then probably this one's not going to be the one for you. Hey guys, so it is 10 p.m. now and I've had my makeup on for almost 12 hours. And I have to say it's fared pretty well. It's pretty much the same as it was about 2 or 3 hours ago. It's hardly faded, slightly on my nose a little bit, but very slightly. It's a very long-lasting makeup, I must say, and it's only kind of creased a little bit around my nose area, but those were the same creases I had earlier. And it's not gone shiny except for a little bit on my forehead and slightly around here, but it's very minimal. It's faded a little bit around here, but on the whole I would say it's a pretty good long-lasting makeup with really good coverage and yeah, very kind of a little bit on the kind of thicker, cakier side, but it does still look quite natural with a kind of more satiny finish, so it's not too matte that it's going to look flat. And because it's oil-free, if you don't have super oily skin and you don't kind of contour or conceal a lot, then I guess you could literally just skip powder. So I'm on the whole very impressed with this makeup, and on the whole I would definitely give it a thumbs up, and I think this is probably the foundation I'm going to be buying next. Okay guys, well that's it. That's everything from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. On the whole, I have to say I'm really impressed with the foundation. If you like something that's quite full coverage, or maybe you're looking for something for nighttime, for an event, and you have kind of oily to combination skin, I would say this is an amazing foundation. Lasting power is amazing. Coverage is really good. It still looks kind of natural because it doesn't look too flat or too matte, even though it's oil-free. It's really nice. It's held up really, really well. I have powdered, but for me it's held up amazingly well. And if your skin is not too oily, you probably don't even need to powder. I needed very, very little concealer. So on the whole, I'm super impressed with the performance of this foundation and how well it's lasted throughout the day. So yeah, if you have kind of similar skin to mine and you're looking for a full coverage foundation, I think you would really like this one. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys!